Tonight from Philadelphia, bombshell shakeup, a leaked email scandal rocking the Democratic Party, taking down the head of the DNC. Chaos and a cascade of boos as the convention begins. Tonight, all signs pointing to the Russians. Is Vladimir Putin meddling in the U.S. election, trying to swing it to Trump? Nightclub mass shooting. 2 teens are dead, over a dozen more wounded, some as young as 12. Who pulled the trigger? Relentless heat wave. When will the misery end for tens of millions? A dangerous stretch turns deadly. A child left in a hot car, and tonight, major storms firing up on the radar. And massive inferno exploding, burning homes to the ground in California. Thousands evacuated, a frantic fight on the front lines to stop it. Nightly News begins right now.
The Democratic National Convention. This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, reporting tonight from Philadelphia.
Good evening. Their party's chairman off the program, an apparent Russian email hack, and now a revolt among Bernie Sanders supporters. Welcome to day one of the Democratic National Convention. There was chaos on the floor below us this afternoon. Just minutes after the opening session was gavelled to order, Sanders supporters began screaming his name, disrupting the program and shattering any illusions of party unity. It all stems from a suspected Russian leak of embarrassing Democratic National Committee emails, forcing party chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz off the speaker's platform, and late today an apology to Bernie Sanders and his supporters. Andrea Mitchell starts our coverage.
Tonight the convention theme is United Together, but plenty of signs that's not happening.
You rigged it! You rigged the primary!
A stunning scene at breakfast, and Battle Party Chair Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz booed by Bernie Sanders supporters in her home state, Florida delegation.
And you will see me every day between now and November 8th on the campaign trail.
What's happening here this morning is the best proof of why campaign officials do not want Debbie Wasserman Schultz appearing at the convention.
Finally forced off the stage and rushed out by security.
I'm surprised she did speak to us today, but yeah, I think she needs to go.
The issue, emails released by WikiLeaks, proving the DNC had favored Hillary Clinton over Sanders, including one from Wasserman Schultz saying Sanders isn't going to be president. Saying she would resign after the convention, Wasserman Schultz hoped to have her moment in the spotlight today, opening the convention. Instead, top Clinton aides talked her into backing out now, leaving Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake to gavel the convention to order. Across town, hundreds of Sanders fans out in force despite sweltering heat. But when Sanders tried to call for party unity, his supporters not ready to follow.
We have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine. Brothers and sisters, this is the real world that we live in.
Tonight, the DNC apologizing to Sanders for the inexcusable remarks made over email. But they couldn't even get through the opening prayer without an interruption.
By nominating Hillary Rodham Clinton as our candidate,
and during speeches, more protests, holding up signs.
Bernie Sanders ignited a revolution. His followers aren't ready to give it up. He's ready to back Hillary Clinton. The question is, can he bring the people who supported him along for the ride and lay down their arms?
Prompting Sanders tonight to text supporters, "I ask you as a personal courtesy to me to not engage in any kind of protest on the floor." Donald Trump already trying to take advantage of the Democrats' drama.
She just got fired. They said, "Debbie, you're fired. Get out, Debbie. Out. Boom."
And tonight, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has been spotted here at the convention. A big test will be whether in delegations like here in Vermont, speakers like Michelle Obama, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders can portray a different Hillary Clinton than the one that Bernie Sanders and the Republicans have been describing for the last year. Lester?
Andrea Mitchell here in the convention hall. Thank you. The blame for that DNC hack exposed by WikiLeaks is being placed at Vladimir Putin's doorstep. The Clinton campaign claims Russia is trying to help Donald Trump by meddling in America's election. Now, a number of cybersecurity experts agree, but tonight, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange responds to those allegations in a conversation with our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel.
The thousands of hacked emails leaked to WikiLeaks rocked the Democratic National Committee. But who stole them? We asked WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. 3 cybersecurity experts told us that the DNC emails were hacked by Russian intelligence. What do you say?
Well, there's no proof of that whatsoever. We have not disclosed our source. And of course, this is a diversion that's being pushed by the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Several American cybersecurity experts told NBC Russia's goal in leaking the emails through WikiLeaks was to sow chaos in American politics and help Donald Trump win the presidency.
They are trying to give Trump an indirect edge or an indirect weight by which they can help him accomplish his goals.
Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin, clearly has a motive to help Donald Trump.
Well, actually, Putin did call me a genius.
The two men have expressed a mutual fondness, a respect for centralized authority, and Trump is an unenthusiastic supporter of NATO, the alliance designed to halt Russian expansionism. Trump isn't buying any of this.
She worked very, very hard to rig the system. Little did she know that China, Russia, one of our many, many friends, came in and hacked the hell out of us.
Cyber experts say the DNC was hacked by the cyber units of both Russian military intelligence and the new KGB, nicknamed Fancy Bear and Cozy Bear. They use signature IP addresses and malware associated with Russian state actors. Russia denies involvement.
We have published 20,000 authentic documents from in the heart of the DNC, which is now turning convention upside down.
One cybersecurity expert told NBC News this entire incident was, quote, an outrageous Russian attack on the U.S. political system. More leaks are expected. Richard Engel, NBC News, New York.
Oh boy, so much to chew on for our primetime team, Chuck Todd and Savannah Guthrie. Savannah, why don't you take a shot here? Bernie Sanders speaks tonight. Can they afford to hear boos again?
Well, it's just insane what's happened here. First of all, Democrats who were in their glee watching what happened in the Republicans convention aren't feeling that same way today. You have Bernie Sanders supporters out there protesting, and it seems to not matter what Bernie Sanders himself says right now. He has sent text messages to his followers. He addressed a crowd before the convention, and he himself was booed. So it seems like the Sanders team and the Clinton team are singing from the same sheet of music. They want party unity, but it seems that some people inside this hall have a different idea.
A revolution within the revolution, almost. Your take?
Well, I tell you this, I'm old enough to remember when the Republicans had a party unity problem. I think it was just a week ago. But look, I think there is real concern. I've talked to some folks in both camps. There's real concern that Sanders has lost control of his own supporters. And it means, though, his speech is more important than ever tonight. How does he make the case for unifying around her? And how do the Sanders delegates in here respond? Every time someone has, we've heard smatterings of boos in the inside.
Did you wait too long to endorse? Is that what's happening?
No, I don't think it's there. Look, this festering problem with the DNC, the fact that it took the email hack to sort of get out there, Sanders people have felt for months that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was not playing fair. They wanted her out months ago. I think the Clinton campaign now realizes they made a mistake waiting. They thought they wouldn't act because they weren't going to do something that Sanders demanded. You know what? In hindsight, it was silly. They should have acted 2 months ago, and they might be in a better place today.
Chuck and Savannah, thanks. I'll see you both for our primetime coverage at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Now to Florida, and new questions this evening about the terrible news of another mass shooting in America. 2 teens are dead, over a dozen more injured after gunfire erupted in Fort Myers. The victims as young as 12. NBC's Tammy Leichner is there for us.
Automatic gunfire in Club Blue. 30-40 shot shootout.
It was around 12:30 in the morning when this Florida nightclub's teen party had just let out. This woman says she saw a gunman with a semi-automatic weapon spraying bullets in the parking lot as parents arrived to pick up their children.
He just kept coming.
When the gunfire stopped, 17 wounded, the youngest just 12 years old.
Multiple victims down in the parking lot.
Within minutes, the young victims and witnesses took to social media.
I can't believe it.
I was just trying to protect my sister.
This attack comes just 6 weeks after 49 people were gunned down at an Orlando nightclub, just a few hours away. Unlike that shooting, police have confirmed that this was not an act of terror.
I will tell you we have 3 persons of interest in custody. I'm not going to go into that, who they are, and we're still looking for others.
Sean Arkeles, only 14 years old, did not survive.
He's my son. I lost my blood, so that's the best. I just lost him.
Stephanie White lost her 18-year-old son, Stephon Strotter, a rising high school basketball star.
My heart is heavy.
His classmates at a loss tonight.
And he helped me through so much. He helped me become a better player on the court. He helped me become a better person off the court.
There is a prayer service going on behind me. 3 victims are still in the hospital tonight, 2 in critical, 1 in fair. As far as motive, police are still not willing to discuss a possible motive. Lester?
Tammy Leitner for us. Thank you. There's late word this evening of a deadly stabbing rampage west of Tokyo. Reports say a man with a knife killed at least 15 people at a center for the disabled, where police remain on the scene. Dozens of others are said to be injured. The suspect has reportedly turned himself in to authorities. The motive is unclear. Here at home, we turn to the unrelenting heat that is suffocating much of the country, including right here in Philadelphia. From Georgia to Massachusetts in the east, Arizona to Oregon in the west, dozens of cities are approaching the 100-degree mark today. Temperatures 5 to 12 degrees above normal, with 53 million people under heat advisories. Here's NBC's Tom Costello.
It's extreme heat that has much of the East Coast in a vice grip this week, from the National Mall
The $1 drinks ice cold.
to the convention in Philly, a humid and miserable 97. In New York, spot power outages have left a few thousand without AC.
There's no air, there's no hot water. You know, it's kind of inconvenient.
Across the country, dozens of cities are pushing the century mark, even hotter with humidity.
This persistent dome of heat continues to cause big problems with heat indices, especially in the mid-Atlantic states, from Philadelphia all the way down to Raleigh, where it will feel over 100 going into the weekend.
D.C. subway drivers now ordered to slow down amid concern the heat could warp the rails. It's about 100 degrees in Washington today, but using this fire department thermal imager, we can tell it's right now 140 degrees on the blacktop, and inside this car that's been locked up, 134 degrees. In Dallas, a 2-year-old boy was the 21st child to die of heat stroke left unattended in a car this year. And EMS systems report heat distress calls are picking up.
Who's at risk is the young and the elderly, and also keep in mind anybody on medications like antibiotics, that can also play a role.
Meanwhile, the extreme heat is powering up the thunderstorms. In Chicago, lightning blew apart this telephone pole, with more storms expected along the East Coast tonight. With the heat index, we hit 112 today here in Washington, and through the week we're expecting 90s, they say. Meanwhile, those intense storms firing up already along the East Coast. We're seeing thousands of flights delayed and canceled, and ground stops in New York City. Lester?
All right, Tom Costello, thank you. Still ahead this evening, into the inferno. Thousands evacuated as extraordinary images capture the speed of destruction from exploding wildfires. The race to stop the flames before they torch even more homes coming up. Also, the downfall of Yahoo, the CEO who grabbed headlines but couldn't turn around, the one-time tech giant. Back now from Philadelphia, and in the midst of this intense heat wave across the country, there's a major fire emergency unfolding on the West Coast. An inferno just exploding, burning homes to the ground as homeowners race to escape. NBC's Gadi Schwartz is on the front lines of the ground and air attack to stop it.
In a massive firefight, homes are being saved, while others are left in charred ruin. 3,000 firefighters are now trying to stop an enormous inferno, forcing the evacuation of 20,000 people.
It was like someone threw a switch. All of a sudden, the winds completely changed and picked up by 20 to 30 miles an hour.
And today, in the fire zone, that's exactly what we saw.
Within a span of 5 minutes, you see this ridge is on fire. It's burning on both sides of the road right now. So we're going to have to fall back. Firefighters are also falling back because these flames are becoming way too intense.
When the winds flare up and cause a firestorm, this is all the line crews can do.
Let's get that thing wrapped all the way around.
But around homes, hundreds of fire engines are protecting structures. So far, at least 18 houses have been lost, including several belonging to firefighters. Their children were just happy their fathers were okay.
Just wanted to make sure that they could see their daddies again.
Across California, over a dozen fires are burning. One near Big Sur has torched 20 homes and burned more than 14,000 acres. Up and down the state, people have lost everything they own.
It feels like it's alive, like it has a mind of its own. It just keeps breathing in and unpredictable.
A fire that pulses and heaves walls of flames in view of an anxious community below.
Officials say this fire is growing at a rate of about 10,000 acres a day, and even with all of the resources they've thrown at this fire, it is likely going to be Friday before they have it under control. Lester?
Some remarkable images there, Gotti. Thank you. We're back in a moment with the new alert from the CDC that affects every single pregnant woman and her family. The CDC is urging doctors nationwide to be on higher alert for the Zika virus. Doctors are being advised to ask all pregnant women whether they may have been infected with Zika at every checkup. So far, all pregnancies affected by Zika in the U.S. have been linked to travel, but officials fear mosquitoes will start spreading it to the southern U.S. Now to the end of an era for a major American name. A longtime giant from the .com boom, Yahoo has fallen, sold to Verizon for $4.8 billion. Believe it or not, a fraction of what it was worth back in its 1990s heyday. NBC's Jolene Kent reports on the downfall and the glamorous executive investors hoped could save the company.
The internet pioneer that yodeled its way to the top now sold to a phone company, Verizon. CEO Marissa Mayer's attempt at a turnaround now over.
You don't look at this as a failure?
I don't, not at all. It's really hard to build new businesses. It's really hard to take a company that was so predominant in a moment in time. You know, Yahoo is a company that changed the world.
4 years ago, a 37-year-old Meyer was brought in to do what many thought was impossible, reinvent Yahoo in the age of Facebook and Google. But Meyer was known as a Silicon Valley whiz, the first female engineer at Google with a glamorous image. She spent billions acquiring startups and expensive talent like Katie Couric. Meyer famously banned working from home. After giving birth to her first child, she was back to work in just 2 weeks, building a nursery next to her office.
How do you think Marissa will be judged? I think that in the future, Marissa will be judged as a failure, and I think that's not fair. Yahoo was a broken company when she arrived.
Meyer insists she's staying on for now.
I love Yahoo, and I want to see Yahoo into the next chapter.
Verizon will take over Yahoo's email and other products, but Meyer's expected to leave eventually with a reported $55 million golden parachute. Jolene Kent, NBC News, New York.
When we come back, the undocumented immigrant speaking here at the DNC and her message tonight for Donald Trump. Finally, the first night of the DNC here in Philadelphia will feature some of the Democratic Party's most famous faces, and joining them on stage will be an activist who is also an undocumented immigrant. As she tells our Peter Alexander, she has something to say tonight to Donald Trump and others.
As the Democratic Party's biggest names prepare to step on stage, hers is unfamiliar, but Astrid Silva's message no less powerful.
Can you believe this is your moment to address the country?
It's a little bit overwhelming.
Silva is a dreamer, one of nearly 1.5 million undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. She arrived when she was just 4.
For the families that are affected by this, it really means hope in that we can finally live without that fear.
Tonight I'd like to talk with you about immigration.
To her shock, President Obama first brought her story to life in 2014.
Including a young woman named Astrid Silva.
Silva, flanked by her parents at a watch party, was overwhelmed by the moment as the president spoke about her grandmother's passing in Mexico.
And she couldn't travel to the funeral without risk of being found out and deported.
2 years later, the floor is hers.
It sort of strikes me that you are living the American dream. All you're missing is being an American.
You know, it really goes back to what is being an American, what it doesn't mean. You know, there's so many people in this room that come from different countries and that have become citizens, and they're American. So what is it? And that's what our country is. Our country has always been about opportunity.
What's your message to Donald Trump?
These aren't just numbers. These aren't statistics. These are families that live here in this country that have been here for decades.
Now 28, Silva's a recent college graduate with a tip of the cap to her father. Its message, he cut grass so I could get ahead. After years in the shadows, tonight, stepping into the spotlight. Peter Alexander, NBC News, Philadelphia.
That is going to do it for us for now on this Monday night. I'm Lester Holt. I will see you tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, for primetime coverage of the Democratic National Convention. For the meantime, for all of us at NBC News, thank you for watching and good night from Philadelphia.